Whoops, is everything all
I'm
right?
so sorry, that's my cat has just knocked over everything. Just,
Hi, Sir Camembert.
Oh my god.
When you think that you've got everything under control, then this is the reality of doing everything at home. I'll apologise, my cat, for interrupting your flow.
It's okay. Hello, my name is Erielle, and you're listening to Never Have I Ever, a podcast about experiences I never had. Welcome to episode 10, aka the season finale of this podcast series. So if you're just joining us, feel free to subscribe as new episodes come out each week. You can also follow us on social media at NHIE_pod on Twitter and Instagram, and NHIE pod on Facebook. This week, I'm here to tell you that Never Have I Ever was judged by my gender. As the industry grows, so does the involvement of women. Young girls and ladies are now getting involved in male-dominated areas, changing the way on how we view their involvement in those fields. Joining us is Emma Bullen, Director of New Global Markets for Hyper Hippo Games and an ambassador for Women's in Games. And rejoining us is Meggie Tran, also known as Tech70, who's a travel writer and mental health advocate, as we discuss women representation in male-dominated areas and industries. I think today's episode is quite important, as a lot of the previous episodes in this podcast, one of the things I tend to bring out is how women are treated in certain aspects. So whether that may be sports or being safe in school or anything else, I think one of the common issues is that there is some form of sexism in anything really. But today's episode is more in connection to technology, in gaming, working in STEM, and stuff like that. So the first question I have for you guys is, how common is it for girls to not reveal their gender in video games? We're gonna start off with video games. So how common is it for girls to not reveal their gender when playing MMORPGs or, games like League of Legends, Valorant, Overwatch, stuff like that?
Well, I guess I'll be a case study here. So, I was known as a boy in the Club Penguin community for the longest time. And that's because people assumed that I was a boy. I am a tomboy in real life, and that is reflected on my penguin too. I wear boyish clothes like the blue hoodie, the blue ball cap, the blue sneakers. I don't like to put the girly stuff like the pink hoodie or the wigs on my penguin. I mean, that's how I want to dress my penguin. And also my penguin name Tech70, that also implies that I'm a boy, because we usually think that, technology is reserved for males. But yeah, I actually studied computer science for a while, and I was the minority in my classes. In my high school class, for my technology program, I was actually the only girl for the whole year. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of lonely out there, but I like to represent females, especially in industries where we could have some more representation. Also, in the travel writing industry, that is also dominated by white male writers, and I'm none of those. I'm Asian and I'm female. But it takes some courage to go out there in fields where I'm the minority, but at the same time, I feel proud to be representing females and hopefully making other females more comfortable after I make an example.
It's such an interesting question, and I think one of the things I liked about Penguin was, certainly if you remember, you could express yourself in so many different ways. I think my penguin name, Bambaloo, is a little bit more inherently female. But I like Tech, I didn't really go for the pink hoodies, and I'd swap up my look, as often as I'd log in, until the point where my inventory just got so big, it took so long to go through outfits that I chose something and I stuck with it. And I think, what I stuck with was a crab with maybe some silly headgear and like roller skates. So not necessarily a girly thing, but in terms of like different games, I think I've always, even in chat rooms way back in the day, I'm really old, so I've always expressed myself quite as a female, but I do enjoy the fluidity, and I'll often play games like Dragon Quest Builders. I play a lot. It's not necessarily like a very online an online experience where you meet lots of different people, but I'll play that as a boy, in that boy character. But I've never really thought I can't express myself as a female online. I don't think that thought has really occurred to me. That might just be the games that I play. It could be these sort of genres that I'm more inherently drawn to that make me feel like it's totally okay to express myself.
For me, I don't mind expressing my femininity in video games. Like, we all know my penguin avatar in Club Penguin or Box Critters. It's full on pink. I'm willing to wear pink. And my username screams girl. But the problem is that I get, not really a problem, but whenever I play, I get really weird and interesting results. But when it comes to real life, there's that feeling of feeling uncomfortable because like Tech, I was like the only girl in my IT class, and it wasn't a fun experience at all. And a lot of that was addressed back in episode 1. If for those who haven't listened, episode 1 we addressed how I didn't felt safe in high school, and a lot of it came from sexual harassment from my peers. So we have like shared experiences of like, how we want to view ourselves in video games or how we're treated in real life when it comes to tech and stuff. My next question would be, it's now the 21st century. It's now the year 2021. How is it that girls and women who either play video games or want to study STEM or anything in relation to technology or anything that back in the ye old days is seen as a male-dominated career are still being harassed? Or do you think they're still being harassed?
I think it's improving. As a student of technology and computer science, I don't think I've ever been harassed. In fact, a lot of my teachers praise me for being a girl in a male-dominant industry. And now I'm not scared by being the only girl out there. I actually hung out with a lot of boys when I was in elementary school just because, hey, I like video games. I like playing sports. We're starting to see all of these areas where, there's a lot of boys, but not a lot of girls. But somehow, I guess my interest just steered toward boyish, quote unquote, boyish things like sports and gaming and technology. But so I'm used to hanging around boys, and I was comfortable in high school and college, and I even got some respect from my teachers because of it. So yeah, I think it's improving.
I still see a lot, being on Twitter and see a lot of women talking about harassment in games, and female journalists as well. I hear talking about a lot of problems that they have. It's definitely something that still happens. I think there's like that feeling of anonymity. I think that's part of the problem, is that, if you don't know who somebody is in real life, then you feel it easier to be angry and insult them online because there's no consequences as such. So I think that's part of the problem. I think, the more open we are about who we are, then that controls that to some extent. But in terms of that male-dominated industry, I think, I'm definitely seeing a lot more women in games, that's a fantastic thing to see. Club Penguin was definitely, there was a very good gender balance. There were a lot of women that worked at Club Penguin. But moving on from there, I definitely look around and wonder where my peers went. And so being at Hyper Hippo for a while, we were a very small team of women. And thankfully, that's really changed in our studio. We've hired a lot more women on in the last 6 months. So yeah, I definitely see hope for the future. I think it is getting better.
Yeah, I somewhat agree. Like, even in journalism, it used to be a male-dominated area. And when I was still studying my bachelor's, my lecturers are saying that there are now more women who are now trying to pursue that career. And there's just not a lot of women in the higher ranked CEO levels yet. But they're seeing a huge improvement. Even in my graduate diploma course, there are at least 1/3 of us in that entire cohort, and it's a small cohort of radio students. Only 1/3 of them are female. So I could see that there is a huge improvement. Even in Twitch streaming, like ever since the pandemic, there has been a rise of female Twitch streamers to the point there is now a scholarship for female Twitch streamers who are studying in university. So I think things are improving. I know there's like still like, the harassment, the online bullying, and really, really awful stuff that happens online. But the fact that there are strong women out there who's willing to break barriers, to change the stereotype is quite an interesting feat. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I do think I'm seeing more women representation in industries that were once really dominated by men. The other day, I found out about this community manager for the Among Us video game. It's really cool to see an Asian female be a big time community manager. I mean, she's famous. I think she appeared on some late night show or something, but her name is Victoria Tran. Actually, she shares my last name. But anyway, it's just so inspiring to see girls and also people of color out there paving the way for representation. Because once we see more people that look like us out there, then there's a snowball effect. Like more and more people are going to look and say, oh, these people who look like me can actually be in these industries. And I could be in these industries too. It's really hard to join an industry where we don't see people who look like us because we feel like we don't belong. It's really hard to break that boundary sometimes, but I feel like we are breaking that boundary more and more as time goes by.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, there's a lot of great groups that do lots of hard work to make sure that people feel represented and that they have somebody to talk to, like the Women in Games Ambassadors group that I'm part of. Just does a great job of sharing resources and connecting women in games to other women in games. There's some other international women in games communities as well, and women in tech communities that put on various talks and really encourage people to get in touch and be mentored and connect with people. And I think that's so important in terms of encouraging others to forge careers in this community. And I love that. I love seeing that happen. That certainly didn't happen 20 years ago. So I have such great hope for the future.
There's a solidarity I'm seeing. There's all kinds of opportunities reserved for women. I was part of a computer science hackathon just for women. Like they want to create a safe, comfortable space where women can come together. I'm seeing more and more of that. And also as a travel writer, I'm seeing publications ask for more people of color and females. In fact, I just submitted a pitch for a new travel magazine, but they only accept articles from women travel writers. So I'm seeing more and more exclusives out there for women and people of color.
And it's really interesting as well, as there are like some industries that are trying to do different things to target women to work within those industries. For example, in Australia, just a few years ago, they are trying to push more women to study engineering. And one of the ways they try to do that is to lower the university entry rank for women who plan to study in engineering or in other STEM courses. Do you think that trying to cater stuff for women and trying to like make things easier for women to access these courses, to convince them or encourage them to pursue this by either making the job descriptions easier for women to apply, like it's targeted to women like the way it's written, or lowering study entry ranks in universities? Do you think that those are like good ways to encourage women or girls to pursue those courses, or do you think there are like other better ways to do such thing?
I'd like to keep a balance. I think it's great that we're like reducing the barriers between women and these opportunities. But at the same time, we also need the courage to step into fields where, yes, some of these fields are still male dominated. We have to be comfortable with stepping into those fields. And whenever I go to a conference, I see people congregate. I think it's natural for humans to congregate to people who look like each other. And in these networking opportunities, it's really important to be able to step out of these circles where you feel comfortable and go to those circles where you go to people who don't look like you, but you'll expand on your networking opportunities, both inside your circles where you feel comfortable and the circles where you might feel less comfortable. But the more you network, the easier it gets.
Persistence is a huge thing. And I think that's definitely, how do you get into a male-dominated industry? I think you decide that you want to be in it and you do everything you can to get there.
So the second half to this is how women are represented in the media. And I guess for this case study, we're going to be talking about video games. There's a difference between like Club Penguin, where you control the character, you control how you dress up, and you can be whoever you want. So there's that. But let's talk about like TV shows or storytelling games where you have no choice who you're playing. The first question is, what are your opinions so far on like the female characters in the current video games we play so far? Or do you think there's not a lot of strong female characters in the video games we play so far?
Oh my goodness, that's such a good question. I think, when you talk about women in video games, the first one that comes to my mind is Lara Croft. I loved her story, and then you're not playing, you're really working out who that character is, so you're not playing as them.
There's a video game title, I can't remember it right now, but Metroid. She's also a strong female character. Yeah, behind that suit is a female. I didn't even know that until I read the story. And again, that's just us generalizing these video game characters. Like we tend to generalize that these characters are male, especially when we don't see their face. But only until I read the story of Metroid did I know that Metroid is a woman.
So what do you think is your favorite like video game moment when it comes to like female characters? So it could be either when you were working or when you were playing or both. I think one of my favorites is, out of everything, I think it's when they created the first Pokemon professor to be female. And I think it was in the Unova region. I was like, when the announcement came, I was like, wait, there's a female Pokemon professor? Shut up and take my money! And she was really awesome too. She's not like ditzy or anything. She's like, she knows her field. She's like competent like Professor Oak and stuff. So I'm just like, yes, female Pokemon professors. I want more.
Well, I'm thinking about Mario again. I grew up with a lot of Mario Kart titles, all right? But my favorite title from the Mario universe is Mario Kart. And I love seeing that we can play as the ladies, like Princess Peach, Princess Daisy, Rosalina, and the baby characters. I like in the Mario Kart Wii series, I thought it was cool how Princess Peach wasn't wearing her signature pink dress, but a tracksuit. And I thought, wow, that looks so awesome. And that's a lot more practical and realistic too. Yeah, like how can you drive a cart in a flowy dress? Like, won't you get caught in the wheels or something? So I thought that was a good decision of the Mario Kart Wii team to change her outfit. I mean, that's just a subtle change, but I like seeing that. I mean, they're not limited to wearing dresses in real life or in video games.
I have a couple of friends that work at Wooga, so I think, when I think about strong female characters and moments in video games, I think about June's Journey and Pearl's Peril. I don't know if you've played those, but they're those like puzzle games that you've got secret scenes that you have to look for items in, and then you advance the storyline. And they're always, there's something, they're detectives or they're in action, heroic ladies. So I enjoy those moments in video games where got the cliffhangers and you solved the crimes and things like that. So I definitely think about them when you talk about iconic moments.
I think we can all agree that things are somewhat changing for female representation, whether that may be in male-dominated industries, tech industries, video games. There has been a lot of change. But I still think that there might be ways to improve because like I've mentioned in today and in previous episodes, there is still some problems. So my final question to you guys is, how do you think things can improve for females and girls who want to dip their toes in male-dominated industries or who want to be represented in the media in any form whatsoever?
I'd say whatever your heart and your skills, wherever they lay, just go for it. You don't have to fall under these stereotypical fields. I grew up with girls who wanted to get in nursing or something, and I didn't follow them. I didn't follow my friends into those fields where there's mostly women because I just want to do what I want to do, and I don't care if I'm going to be the minority in a field because I really like to travel write, and in school I like to code too. Hey, I even created a crude program for Fine 4, so I guess that just goes to show how much of a Fine 4 fanatic I am. Whoa, that alliteration, I love that. But I just say wherever your heart and your skills lay, just go for it. Just trust the process. I found allies, and I'm sure you will too, wherever you go.
Yeah, I think that's so important, isn't it? Talking about finding allies. I think that shift from seeing other women as somebody to compete against and shifting that mindset to seeing other women as other people that can give you advice and can mentor you and help you to get where you need to be is so fundamentally important. And that just, I think if that's the one change that you can make in your life, and then that is just going to be so much more helpful for you.
As society grows and evolves, representation for those unseen or heard is starting to show. Eventually, there will come a day to where those underrepresented will no longer feel ashamed or unsafe, but rather be proud with what they're doing and have their efforts recognized. I would like to thank Meggie and Emma for joining me, as it was great having two amazing women give their insight in this important topic. My name is Erielle, and this has been the Season 1 finale of Never Have I Ever. There are more other topics and missed out experiences I still have to cover, so until then, I hope you stick around for the next season. You can follow us on social media at NHIE_pod on Twitter and Instagram, and NHIE Pod on Facebook to view updates and news. Also, while waiting, feel free to listen to an earlier episode of Never Have I Ever or my other podcast, Casual Nerds with Matt, over on YouTube, Spotify, and other podcasting platforms. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.